stuff. Hi. Yeah, so, I was wondering, since it seems to be the general operating procedure that if I'm in Wisconsin, that means that the Constitution and the laws apply, I'm wondering for any evidence that would prove that that's true.
Oh, let me see if I can get someone to help you. I think so.
This on? It is. Right.
Hello. I'd like to make a report on the stolen tracer.
Okay, and what's the song?
Yes.
Okay, what I'll have to do is go that room right behind you, turn on the light. There's a phone and instructions on how you to hold a dispatch, and we'll send an officer in.
Guess I'll take some.
Yes.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
All right.
Are,
Are you the one I'm supposed to talk to?
are you talking about a complaint or a file, a report filed?
I'm not sure.
Uh,
Are you with him or are you guys?
no, I'm separate. I'm just here. Just ask a question of evidence.
Okay. Well, let's go down here away from
Sure.
him. I'm Lieutenant Kolb.
I'm Deshawn.
Okay. Were you just speaking with Lieutenant Phillips earlier?
Yes, I
Okay.
thought I'd came in and check with other officers to see what you guys think, if you have any evidence. You didn't really provide any
Evidence
evidence.
of what?
Well, okay, so it seems to be the operating procedure of the police that if I'm physically in Wisconsin, that means that the Constitution and the laws of the state of Wisconsin apply to me. And the lieutenant agreed. That if I'm here, that means that you guys operate under the assumption that if I'm here, that means that the laws apply. So I'm asking what evidence there would be to support that claim, that just because I'm here, that the laws apply.
Okay. So you want me to whip something out here to show you?
I mean,
or
if you have it, I mean, there could be a statute or a code, but they couldn't be really evidence of themselves. You know, it couldn't. I don't think it would be very logical to say that the statute applies because the statute says so.
Have you asked any judges this question?
Yes.
Which ones?
The Everest municipal judge, Christine, I don't even want to try to pronounce her last name, Weirhauk or something.
I don't know her name either.
Yeah,
What did she tell you?
she wouldn't talk on camera.
Okay. Try any of our circuit court judges?
Yeah,
Name any of those?
I was threatened for filming in the court.
Okay. Would we try getting any sort of written documentation from them? Would that be kind of the same thing as?
Well, I mean, I
proof
just figured because
for
you know, you guys are the ones who are taking the actions.
Sure, I understand you're recording me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're I'm assuming you're some type of sovereign citizen, or?
Oh,
what
no,
do
no,
you-
no, no, no.
or what?
I'm not a sovereign citizen. I don't even know what a sovereign citizen is.
All right.
Do you?
Somebody that, I guess my understanding would be, doesn't agree that government can press upon them laws
Okay.
that they didn't agree with.
Right. I'm just here making an inquiry as to the evidence that you guys base your actions on,
Okay.
if you have any. That.
Well, we have elected officials that
So, because
are elected by the people. Do you vote?
well, no.
Why not?
What is? Well, is there any evidence that my vote does anything?
That it what?
That it actually does anything at all?
Well, it gets counted, right?
It gets counted. Are you sure?
Yes.
I mean, because I haven't seen any evidence. There's evidence that people register to vote, but there's not evidence that the people that they vote
So
for.
do you think they just make up those numbers? That,
I
elections
don't know.
are just, they're just
I don't know.
like,
I mean,
let's flank this
I'd be
person winner,"
speculating.
or what?
I'd be speculating. You know, I'm just saying that, that
And
you
we
can
don't
vote. You
speculate,
can vote.
right?
You can vote, and you can. I mean, maybe it does count towards that actual person that you claim that you want to represent you or whatever. I'm just asking for the evidence that,
Let's just
that
say
they
it
actually
does.
that they
Let's
actually
just say it does,
that they actually
okay?
okay, yeah
Let's
we
just
can,
hypothetically say
yeah that it actually does.
your vote is counted
Right.
by someone or some machine for,
Right. For person X.
for somebody that's running for a certain position that then gets involved in debating whether something should become law, and then that person's involved in voting on what the laws would be for this state of Wisconsin that you're standing in.
The state of Wisconsin, is that the land, are you saying, or the
Yes.
group of the government?
I'm talking, well, both. The
Well-
government, these boundaries are set up by physical, land.
A claim
like,
of
yes,
land.
this side is Minnesota, this side
So
would be
a group of
Wisconsin,
people
so I'm
claims
speaking
that
of
this
land.
is the land, that this is their land, that they have jurisdiction over it. I'm asking.
No, the land belongs to the people.
Right. So that would be everybody.
Sure.
Okay. Right. So now, how does, like, your agency, how do you have jurisdiction over me? I'm asking for the evidence that you do, in fact, have personam jurisdiction.
And you don't feel that within the statutes we are empowered to enforce the laws that are created by these legislators?
I'm asking what the evidence is that they do apply in the first place, that you base your actions on. I mean, it seems like you guys say that, yes, they do, in fact, apply to you because you're here. And I'm
Well,
just...
if you can provide me with where I can send that information, I will go pull it out of the books.
Well, I mean,
and send it
I'm
to
right
you.
here. Are you going to be quoting a statute or a code or the Constitution itself?
A statute.
Okay, so then the statutes, wouldn't they be based on the Constitution? Or they would gain their authority,
my
so-called.
understanding,
Right,
sure.
right. Yeah, my understanding as well. So then how does the Constitution then have authority over me or power over me?
Because way back before you were even a fleeting speck
Gotcha.
in anybody's
Yeah,
mind
I've
around
heard this
here,
one.
there were people that decided this is
So,
how we're going to have this country.
I'm bound by the will of men who have been dead for over 100 years.
Correct.
How is that? I mean, how could they bind me to their will?
Hey, there's things I don't
Is it
like either,
is it magic?
but sometimes that's just the way it is.
Uh,
And you have the choice. Nobody's holding you to this
kind
country,
of sounds
correct?
like. Well, I'm just
Do you
asking.
wanna move to
Well, what? I don't know,
country would you like to
Nigeria,
go
or
to that would be more
Uganda.
fitting to
It's all the same.
Your personal wishes.
Well, no, it's all the same. I'm just.
I'm asking you, which country would you
Well,
like to
we're
go
right here.
to?
I'd like to live.
It's clearly you're unhappy with the way this country is set up.
Oh man, I mean, I've heard the whole, well, if you don't like it, leave, or you don't like it, get the hell out type of thing,
Then I
right?
don't know what other answers there are
Right,
for you
right.
here.
Well, I mean, if you don't have any evidence, then you just say you don't have it. I asked the
I
police.
didn't say
I
I
asked.
didn't.
I
I said
asked.
I could send it to you. I said
I
provide me
asked
your
the chief.
information. Would you like to write that down?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Now I'm gonna go back to writing the reports of the people that have done bad things to others in this country, in this state. Do you have like that little piece of paper and, I don't think I have a pen out here with me right now. I'm hoping you're not one of those guys that's gonna edit your version of this.
No, I would do a live feed, but I get no connection anywhere around here, so I don't do any edits.
A live feed to what?
YouTube.
Should we expect anybody else that you're looking to speak to? Because you've over this twice
I mean,
now that I understand.
is the chief here?
Is the chief here? No, I do not believe he is right now.
Do you know when he might be?
You can certainly try to contact him and request, or I can pass on to him he'd like to meet with you.
Okay. I mean, I'd like to do that.
Okay. Is there a phone number I should provide him for
Sure.
contacting you? Nine 556?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else that you're gonna attempt to contact here?
Not that I know of. I mean, I might come back and ask some other officers. I mean, it kind of seems like you guys are saying the same thing. Is that
Yeah, exactly.
Just because you're here, that means that you're our subject, and you have to obey.
Have you heard
have to
different from
obey.
anybody else
You have
within
to obey
the
with
criminal
what people
justice
say.
system?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect you guys to conform to my opinion, and I don't know why you guys are expecting me to conform to your opinion. You know, if I were to say that the law of Zarzar applies to you, you would expect some evidence of that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't just accept that it does. So I'm just asking, well, what makes you guys say that your laws apply?
I'm curious what your system would be like
People
if
voluntarily
you were put in
interacting.
charge.
I don't want to be in charge. How is anybody in charge in the first place? Aren't you in charge of you and I'm in charge of me?
I would like to hear from you how society would be kept from members wouldn't be taking
Right.
advantage of each other.
Doesn't that happen now?
If somebody wanted to come and kill you, what's out there to prevent that from happening in your world?
What prevents it from happening now? Do you believe that you do?
Consequences for those actions?
So the fear of consequences.
Yes.
So
That's
then,
part of what
it's
the
a rule.
system
Isn't that terrorism? Where people are afraid to do something. Isn't that what you guys instill into others? Is just fear to comply.
Those who mean to do ill will towards others, yes.
Well,
I
I'm just
guess
saying,
our
I
consequences
can
that
defend
we.
myself, and I mean that's fine. I don't think you guys have a problem with people defending themselves.
No, and that's your right.
Right,
There's
same as
nothing
you have right to
illegal about you
defend yourself. Well,
Absolutely.
well, even if it was written down that you can't do X, like let's say, I don't know, like have you seen the cops who
But
have
if
beaten
your
people's skulls?
residence, you live in Schofield, if somebody came and stole all your stuff, you
Right.
came home one day and everything's gone, what would your
Well, my
what would your
recourse
system
would be,
Yeah.
well, I mean, right now you guys have the monopoly on
No,
the
no,
use
no,
of
no, no,
force.
no, no, no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, no.
So what I
This
would
is
do?
in your world.
Well,
How would it work?
why would I operate in the real world? Like,
Yeah.
don't you just, well,
Whatever you want to call it.
who it is, find out who it is that stole my stuff.
Yep.
Why and why,
How
and
would
then
you do
go
that?
and then go and find it back. I mean,
You're talking in general terms. How would you do that specifically?
I could ask my neighbors if they saw anybody suspicious around or anybody that they didn't know around my house. If not, I mean,
Okay.
I'm not going to disclose if I have cameras in my house.
So they
or
give
not,
you a description of somebody.
I have
that-
cameras in my house. Yeah, and I can find out who that person is. I mean,
Okay.
there's
And then what would
ways.
you do?
I mean, go find them and I'd ask nicely for my things back first.
And they tell you to get lost.
Then don't I have a right to get my property back
Yeah, how would you do it?
by means of force, not terrorism, not
Okay,
fear.
How would you do it?
I mean, I have firearms. I can use
Okay.
firearms.
What would you do?
Use
Those
firearms.
Yeah.
I mean, what you want me to say is that I would shoot them.
No, I want to know specifically how you would go about your way of,
Justice.
after being victimized by somebody else. Yes, how would you hold that person accountable? How would you get justice for
I
yourself?
mean, if I didn't have the means to directly get it back myself, maybe I could go and talk to like their community around them, hey, this, and let them know, hey, this is what they did. I've got, you know, testimony.
Who's the community?
Well, their neighbors.
Okay, you tell their neighbors that this guy
Like-
stole from you?
Yeah.
Okay, what would that do?
Well, their neighbors would certainly like, well, they wouldn't like that. Maybe I don't think anybody would like somebody who's a known thief living next to them. So maybe,
maybe
as
some of
a-
them are thieves,
maybe
too.
Maybe. Well, they could be. No honor
So I can
amongst
tell you
thieves.
exactly. These people you speak of that aren't exactly living in the best neighborhoods
Yeah.
with the best neighbors.
Oh, maybe.
Doubtful.
I mean,
I get from my
guess,
25
like going
years
on
of doing this work that you don't think I should be doing apparently, but.
Well, I never said that. If you're going after people who have hurt other people and it caused damage to them or their property, I don't have any problem with that. I don't see who would. I have
No,
a
but
problem.
there's a system of justice that I don't think you feel we have the right to
Well,
exert upon them.
I'm asking how it is that you have the right to impose your will on people who have done no harm to anybody else or their property.
Well, this is the first time I've met you, but how has anybody imposed their will upon you
Well,
if you haven't done anything? What
I mean,
examples do you cite,
you
especially
say,
specific to law enforcement?
Like, let's say, well, in
Like
order to
speed
drive
limits?
on the road, you have to have a license, which I believe in legalese is a permit. It's permission.
Yes.
So why is that? Isn't that imposing on me? Why is it that I could not go and drive on a road without causing harm to anybody else? You know, from point A to point B. I want to go to McDonald's or something. Why? What's the harm in me going to
Because I think
McDonald's?
at some point in history they realized this would be, for the good of society as a whole, a certain level of safety.
Well, then who decided that?
Because there's
But
maybe
I-
certain elderly people, maybe there's certain teenagers that
yeah, I
shouldn't be
mean,
allowed to drive, but
right.
at some point we gotta draw a line.
Right.
Because we don't want 9-year-olds driving several thousand-pound vehicles around and potentially running into things or running over the top of people.
So then it's enforced by like
So,
fear of. if
somewhere
you
in
do
the
it, I mean,
history,
there
but you
would
know
be-
where I'm going.
There would be consequences.
There's-
But there would be consequences without you guys around. Like, let's say a 9-year-old did decide to go and drive a car, and they got into a crash.
Sure, but I think society's gotten to the point where it tries to prevent some of that, and that's maybe where you feel like it infringes upon you, is that effort to prevent these things is, in your
I just
opinion,
want-
reaching too far, and causing you hardships,
Or
by having to pay for things and
a
have
group-
to be, licensed,
a
and
group
have
of
the
people
license plates
I've
on your
never met.
vehicle.
By a group of people I've never
So
met.
until something happens bad, you feel,
Well, bad things have happened to me. I mean, it's out
Well,
of
no
your
doubt.
guys' scope. Like North Dakota, a native crashed into my car. You guys claim you don't have jurisdiction over him. Nothing happens.
well, and be careful when you say you guys, because if you're in another
Okay,
state.
sorry. Yeah, you're
unless
right.
it's
You're
in
right. You're
Wisconsin,
right.
or
The-
more
the-
specifically,
the-
the city of Wausau.
the state.
I can take some accountability for what the Wausau Police Department does,
Right.
but don't be painting with a broad
You're
brush
right. You're
on
right.
what
That's wrong. Because that'd be wrong if you said you guys to me
Right.
as well. So I understand that. And then for example, if I have a home, what right does any other human being have to claim that I have to pay them? And
Pay what, for
to
what,
just
property taxes?
you can say
or
yeah,
rent?
you could say it's a tax.
Or
Isn't
pay
that
for
just
home itself.
isn't that a euphemism for well pay us or go to jail?
Well, hey, if you can figure out a way to get property taxes for not being paid, I'm all for that, because I realize my money goes towards things I'm not using, or things of the like,
So, but then is there any evidence?
that's a system
Is there any
I've-
evidence of an obligation to have to do that?
I'm in law enforcement, I'm not in property
But
tax enforcement.
if it's not paid, then don't you come and put me in a cage?
No, we don't get involved in that at all.
Okay. So let's say I had, I don't know, cannabis or something like that.
If you don't file a tax return, or I'm sure
Right.
there's ways that
Any
if you get
obligation.
some sort of tax refund, where the government's actually giving you money,
Right.
but you owe over
Well,
here.
they claim that I owe
they
them.
can- Sure. Sure, they can
What
claim
is the
that.
evidence of that?
I got a feeling there's a process of
For
appealing
you
that
guys
as
saying
well.
that, well,
That-
isn't it kind of too late if they're already using physical force on you to appeal? Would I not have a right to defend myself against somebody who's using physical
What
force on me?
physical force would be used
like this, men with guns being sent to come and take me and put me in a cage, for example, for not paying them. I mean, I was in the Everest Metro Court today. Same thing, pay or go to jail. So, what obligation is there to have to even be in there in the first place?
That wasn't for taxes, though, right?
Right.
What did
I mean, you could
pay?
consider
Some
it,
traffic
yeah.
offenses, or what?
Well, I mean, I wasn't in the court for anything I did or didn't do or any
Oh,
claims against me. I'm just
I thought
saying
you said you were.
So, I mean, what I want to figure out is, in the Declaration of Independence, it says that, you know, you're run by the consent of the governed. So, if there's any evidence of that at all, like a signature or anything, other than me just being here, because just being somewhere is hardly consent, is it?
We're not kind of talking in circles here.
Okay, so like the Declaration of Independence, it's, you know, we the people, and then it says there's something about the government being run by the consent of the governed. Yeah, it's like in the first paragraph, right? So, what evidence is there that
Take your word
anybody
for
has
it. I
consented?
can't quote the Declaration
right.
of Independence right now.
Right, yeah, me either. But yeah, paraphrasing. So then, what evidence is there that anybody has consented to be governed?
Well, I guess that's in your interpretation of the consent of the governed. Could someone argue that consent of the government involves, you know, again,
Just
our elections or elected officials? So obviously not
like-
everybody is going to agree on a certain candidate, a certain person they want to lift up to say, I want this person to represent me. So we have to go with the majority to rule.
So
on
how
it.
does it, like, the people who go and vote, for example, how does that now, like, the rules that they vote for,
Why can't
not
a
just apply,
16-year-old vote?
why don't they just
Who
apply to
made
them?
that rule? Why doesn't 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds,
Well,
why don't they get to
how a
vote?
small portion of people get to decide what it is that applies and happens to everybody? Why doesn't it just apply to them? If there's evidence that they have consented, and how can somebody else consent for me? Like you said, the people who wrote the Constitution, they decided somehow for me that their laws are going to apply. I don't see how that is. I don't see how that's true. Like your grandparents, like let's say my grandparents were slaves or something, and they decided, all right, we're going to agree with the master, so we can be house slaves. We'll bind our children to be slaves as well. How could they do that? How is that possible that they can sign an agreement and consent for somebody who's not even born?
I guess I'm not even following what you're trying to ask me.
Okay, so you're saying that the Constitution applies to me because a group of people decided that it does a long time ago. That's what it seems like that you said back in the hallway.
If
right?
you're choosing, if you choose to stay in this country, yes.
So how is it that
And you are
all
choosing
the
to stay in
land?
this country,
How is it
right?
that all the land is?
See, there was a
is-
system
is-
set up that you were born into, but nothing's holding you here.
Well, how does the system apply to me if the system claims that it's by my consent, and they don't have evidence of my consent?
Well, and it seems like you're taking the consent literally. And I don't think it's necessarily gonna be meant that way, or maybe it was meant that way initially, but
I mean-
it's been, you know.
So it's a religion?
Now, where are you getting that from?
I mean,
Okay.
if you're saying like
Deshaun, right?
Yes.
Okay, Deshaun. You're just gonna keep going round and round here.
Well, I'm not. It
I will
sounds
relate
like
to the chief.
you
He
don't
wishes to speak
have
with him and about these topics.
the factual
Let him
evidence
decide what he wants to do with
that the laws you enforce on the people apply. You're just applying them arbitrarily. So I don't see how that makes you anything
Arbitrarily?
different.
Well,
Yes.
Now you're going off the deep
Do
end.
you have evidence
I'm
that
not applying them.
does evidence?
And Deshaun, I
exist?
think your goal is to get me to walk away from you, and you can bring up how.
Well, no, I'm not.
I really got to get back to work. Taxpayers are paying.
Yeah, people are
decent
being-
amount of money for me to be doing
being,
something other
uh,
than debating our
stolen from.
country's history with. Yes, sexually assaulted, child abuse, heroin overdose deaths. Those things are pretty important, aren't they?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Even a homicide here and there. So, nice talking to everybody, but gotta
So
go.
it's okay to
Going back to
enforce
work.
your will onto other people with no evidence that you can do so.
Opposing to your YouTube here? Is that, you want to comment? Seriously, how I given you?
26 minutes.
26 minutes, okay.
So no evidence that you can pull up right now. See, because if I were to go and light up a joint in here right now, you would say that you have jurisdiction over me. Do you have any, but you don't have the evidence that you do have jurisdiction. You just have the statute and a code, and that's it. How is that evidence? How are they evidence of themselves?
There's certainly a lot of people in the system with which you speak that should be providing what you're requesting. Okay, like I said, that's why I'm here.
That's why I'm taking it up with you. You would be the one who would be putting hands on
Your
me.
address to Sean.
Yes.
To provide you with what I can find
All right.
out of our statutes that gives law enforcement, police, the authority.
The statutes are evidence of themselves. The laws apply because the laws say they apply.
No, you don't agree, but I'm agree to disagree.
It's not. It's a matter of evidence.
Nobody's holding you here, Deshaun.
You either have the
What country
evidence
would you like to go to?
that you can impose your will and the will of your owners onto me.
Deshaun?
I'm going to stay right here.
Okay, well then live within the system that was set up for you, okay?
Set up by other people that I just immediately have to apply to. How is that freedom?
Set up by people other than me. I didn't set it up,
You're just following orders?
pretty much.
Are you familiar with the Nuremberg trials?
See if they let me in, you can't go to the door. Yes, I am. The contract's not going to 29.
Just following orders